Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Um, my name is Mike Sargent, and today I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and talk to you about a recent experience and an evaluation of sorts regarding my experience with Microsoft and laptops. Because I know there's been a lot of reviews here lately on YouTube that have popped up about the new Surface Creator laptop system that they've developed, and um, I wanted to bring this up as somewhat attention. Roughly a year ago, I purchased a Surface Laptop 3, which was supposed to be the most powerful laptop on the market at that time and highly recommended for creatives, photographers, more or less because it handled Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom and Camera Raw and all those programs that are associated with the Creative Cloud that you more or less would need the power to run that type of software. And what I wanted to point out was when I bought my Surface Book 3, and it's loaded. I mean, it has all the bells and whistles. The only difference between the models that were available was you could get a 13-inch screen or a 15-inch screen, and I opted for the 13-inch screen for desk space. Of course, now I purchased a dock, and I also have dual monitors connected to my computer, and it's worked very well. Well, I was pretty excited, to see that they came out with a new laptop, and that new laptop was supposed to be even more powerful than the Note 3. And, I'll backtrack just a second here. The reason why I decided to go with Microsoft was because originally I was doing all my computer work, my photo editing, everything on an HP Envy system that was very high end. And I believe when I purchased that, it was about $1,750. And right out of the gate and shortly after use, I had a ton of problems with the graphics card and processor in it. And it took me weeks to get that resolved. And trying to contact somebody from HP, it was near impossible to get answers. So at some point, NVIDIA developed some drivers, and I was able to download those drivers and install them on my HP, and that took care of the problem. And I used that laptop for several years. Well, as time goes on and laptops, become a little less relevant or not as powerful as what they need to be to run applications like Lightroom and Photoshop, just simply due to the upgrades or the system, minimums for those types of programs. I ended up, deciding it was time to purchase a new laptop, thus leading me to the Surface Pro. Now, I've had some experience with Surface, the Microsoft Surface brands. Surface Pro, a few years back, one of my daughters was in college, and we ended up buying it's actually a sexy little laptop that, it's a Surface Pro, very nice system. And actually, both of my kids used that while they were going to college. And my HP was actually higher spec than that original Surface. So my one daughter, needed something a little different So I ended up making a trade for her, and I gave her my HP, and I took the I think it's a Surface Pro 4. I took that system back and more or less reformatted it for generalized use, which is basically internet, email, things like that. And that works very well. But my Surface Book 3, was intended to do everything that I needed with photography, with video, the whole 9 yards. And I'm going to clearly say it. It doesn't disappoint. I mean, it's a great unit. And I believe when I purchased it, I paid about $3,200 for the system. And that was a great investment for me at that time. And one of the things that I mean, now granted, I'm going to come right out and say that this system is not even a year old yet. It will be a year old in March of 2022. So the computer does have some hours on it. I've spent a lot of time doing photo editing and video editing, but the system is very clean. It's very fresh. I maintain it very well. Basically because, when you're spending that kind of money on a system, you want it to last a very long time. And you want it to look good. I mean, when people come into your office and see your system, what you're actually working on, it doesn't hurt to have people see your system and say, wow, that's quite the setup. And I've put some pictures on Instagram of my current setup, just because I am, proud of it. But here's something I want to bring right to attention. So Microsoft comes out with a upgraded laptop, and it's a laptop designed for creators. The specs on it are high end. I've looked at it, priced it out, and it was something I was considering. But I also was aware of the fact that Microsoft had a trade-in program. So I wanted to find out just what my computer system would be worth to actually trade it in and upgrade to that new laptop with enhanced specifications. And here's where it gets a little disappointing. After, sending them the information, which they already had because I did purchase directly through Microsoft. It wasn't a Best Buy purchase or an off-store brand. This was purchased directly from Microsoft. I was bewildered, to say the least, when they came back and told me that my $3,000 laptop would only be worth $300 to them. And that floored me. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you have to be kidding me. I paid $3,000 for this thing less than a year ago, and you're telling me that it's only worth $300? What was it worth when I bought it, if I've taken that much of a loss on this? So I was told that I could call a different number for a better quote or something like that. And I tried that, but I couldn't get through to anybody. So to make a long story kind of short here, I want to point this out because I don't know if big tech or companies like Microsoft will realize this with people. But could I take this and sell this on the open market and probably get a pretty decent price for it? Sure. I think I feel quite confident that I would be able to do that. But my reservations in doing so are in part to, having to deal with the lookers and the people that aren't really serious about it, or the people that want to try to talk you down. I mean, in my mind, I would look at this computer and say, yeah, it's worth $2,000. It's worth $2,500. With the specs and everything that this would come with, but not according to Microsoft. So I kind of quickly deep sixed the idea of upgrading, to their new Surface laptop for creators. It just didn't seem like it wouldn't be the smart play. So I want big tech to realize this. Based off the information I received for my laptop and what they felt it was worth, it makes you understand the reasoning why people would switch to different operating systems or different computer systems, such as Apple. All right. Now, I've owned Apples in the past. I loved Apple computers. And let's put it this way. I had a love-hate relationship with Apple computers. When I bought originally, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I bought a very elegant looking Power Mac. It was a G4, and it was a very nice computer. I had it for years, and it actually inspired me to purchase a couple of older laptops that I got used that we utilized for everything, email, you name it, we used it for that. But I ended up having this G4 laptop for a long time until you couldn't update the operating system on it anymore. And it turned into software that, like Chrome or Safari, Apple didn't support, the newest version. So there's two ways to look at this. I've bought PowerBooks. I actually had purchased 2 new laptops for my wife, an iBook and then actually a few years later a PowerBook. And what I found was, like, the iBook, the motherboard went to heck in it. It was a lot of money to fix it. It was decided that it just wasn't worth fixing. So we ended up getting her a PowerBook. And honest to God, that thing lasted about 2 years with very light use. My wife is not a big computer person, and the motherboard went on that as well. And it was the same scenario. It was very expensive to fix. So that led me down the road of being very apprehensive about purchasing Apple computers, because when you lose 2 of them and both are diagnosed with bad motherboards, and you see what the cost is, you really got to question whether or not you're going to buy another Apple product. So I haven't been with Apple for quite some time, but I do know that in situations like this where Microsoft, who this system is exclusively purchased through, built through, manufactured for, whatever the case is, when they tell you that, your $3,000 computer less than, a year later is only worth $300 for a trade-in, and you're looking to upgrade, I think that's bad business. It sends a person into a sense of thinking, Well, hell, why would I buy a Microsoft unit if, I'm taking such a huge loss on it? And why wouldn't I go out and purchase a Mac? Well, Apple's traditionally much more expensive than PCs. And the way I look at it, I mean, here's my realistic take on all of this. Microsoft and Apple, if you're buying a Surface or a MacBook or whatever the case is, they are by far the best on the market. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But there's a lot of other manufacturers out there, and you can get them built with very good specs in them, very good video cards, processors, the whole 9 yards. And a lot of times these will come at a reduced cost. And I think that's where that market comes into play, and where things get very diversified across this. Now, what I would tell you right now, that based on my experience, if I were going to make that decision right now as to what type of computer system I would buy, I would have to say that I would end up going with another Surface, because I have had Apple computer systems completely fail on me. And I think the most recent desktop computer I had was an iMac. The thing was, it was pristine. It was always kept clean. It worked flawlessly with Lightroom. I mean, at that time, I never used Photoshop, but I did have, video software and stuff that I would do, films on. It worked great, but it's like, you got to look at the life of Apples. And what I see is maybe you're going to get 8 to 10 years conservatively out of any Apple system that you buy. As long as the motherboard doesn't fail, or something internal doesn't fail you. So, that's kind of what you're stuck with. But I do want to say, Microsoft, your offer for my laptop on a trade-in did not leave a very good taste in my belly. So I hope, if you're seeing this and you're listening to this 18-minute, conversation, or me talking to you about Apples and Surfaces and just the PC world, I hope you take this into consideration when you're looking at possibly purchasing a computer. I know all the reviews. I mean, I would suspect that a lot of people, I don't think you can long-term evaluate computer systems by having it in your hands for 30 days to find out the truths of how good a certain system really is. I can say this with all sincerity, and this is based on my years of experience with computer systems. Apples are great systems. Surface Pros are great systems. But the bigger picture that you have to come down, and this is where your decision is made, is your cost, your longevity, and ultimately, if it's going to continue to work for you. I hope this helps you guys. I'm trying to be as honest and forward on this topic. A lot of people will disagree with some of my reasonings, but in the end, it always comes down to just a few things. It comes down to cost, functionality, and longevity. I hope that helps everybody. Thanks for watching the channel. Please click the like and subscribe button if you found this useful. And I look forward to doing more videos down the road, related to photography. I'm going to work on doing a signature tutorial, because I have not really a problem, but I think people who are paying for photo logos, do they really need to do that? Do they know how to create their own photo logo? I mean, are they aware of the options out there, and what can they live with and be happy? I mean, having something that you can kind of create as your own, and it's so easy to do in Photoshop with all the fonts out there. I mean, unless you're going to do a signature on a Wacom tablet and create your own signature, if your handwriting is actually good enough where you would want it to be on a signature photo, then yeah, I would highly recommend that. But my writing looks like, I just crushed my fingers in a vice, and my handwriting sucks. So I decided to create something that looked a little elegant and very nice, and I want to show you guys how to do that. So maybe I can save you a few bucks. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you don't look at it as well. I just watched 22 minutes of, I'll never get this back in my life. So thanks for watching. Bye.